Hello all, myself Mohit Krishna. I'm currently pursuing my BTech in Computer Science and Engineering in specialization with Artificial Intelligence and Data Engineering at Clavely Professional University in Punjab. So today I'm going to be speaking about the reversing of k elements from a queue. So what is basically reversing of k elements from a queue? Consider if we have a queue which contain elements like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Like we have the queue containing elements for natural numbers of 1 to 8. And we have a value for k which will be equal to 3. So this k we gave it an integer value, which means that if we have these 8 elements, this k indicates the first 3 elements for this. In this first in the given queue, k indicates the first 3 elements. It indicates the elements like 1, 2, and 3. So reversing of this means like we all know that queue works in the principle of first in, first out. Like for example, like I've mentioned in the previous videos as well. For example, it can be a printer which completes the tasks from the order which is given at first. It completes the tasks from first to the last. So what we do for reversing the first 3 elements in a queue is that first what we do is we create first we create an empty stack. First we create an not an empty stack. First we create an auxiliary stack to store these 3 elements. So we create a temporary stack. So temporary, first we create a temporary stack to store these elements. Then what we do is we reverse the order that the in this the order is 1, 2, 3. In order to reverse these, in order to make this in order to add this into the queue, we reverse the order first so that we get the order like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then 3, 2, 1. Then only it will be reversed, right? Because one have to come in the last. So we then reverse it. We then reverse the order. And then what we do is we add it back to the queue. Then what we do is enqueue it back. So this is what we are gonna do. We enqueue it back. So this is what we are gonna do in this video, which is basically I'm going to be explaining about the code and its logic on how we are going to reverse these elements in this reversing of k elements of a queue. Okay, now moving on to the coding part. So what I'll do first is I'll write the code first, then I'll be explaining because if I explain every each word by word, it's gonna take a long of time. So it would be easier for me that I will write the code first, then I'll explain the logic according to the code and how it is done. So first I will be starting by importing a queue. So from queue, import, importing queue. Then I'm gonna define this function, which is that reversing of first k elements. So defining reversing of that q, and if not in q, or the given integer is greater than or lesser than, lesser than 0, and equal to 0. or k is greater than q. If you are like, for example, if you have q size and age, and if the given k is more than 8 or 9, even like, for example, if it's 9, it won't work. So this q size bigger than the q size, then we have to return invalid input. Next, we are going to use a temporary stack like I told before. So use a stack. Key elements. And so we create an empty stack here. And for the range of stacks, so we get the range will be k. It's going to be the integer value. When you stack to append, stack dot to get the q. Next, we enqueue elements back in the reverse order. So enqueue it in the enqueue element back in the reverse order back. For that, we use this file stack top. Now I'm gonna add some example cases into this. Having an example use of this. Yeah, and I'm gonna use that my queue. In the range of what we gave was 1 to 8. Mm, For the range 1 to 8. And we gave the k value. Now let's use the print statement to implement this. Sorry, print that print statement. Print that first we use the original queue. Then reverse first queue. The key value. We then print queue after reversing. Elements using that list of my queue dot queue. Okay, now let me check if there's any error and then I'll explain about the and run this code and explain about its logic. Okay, now let's run this function. Okay, on running this, it shows that original queue was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And after reversing, like I told, we had the like first three elements would be reversed order in the reverse order, and adding to the last, so it would be like 4, 5, 6, and 3, 2, 1. So that is how it works. Now, moving on to the logic part and explaining about each line. So, I'll explain from the first line. So, from Q import Q, which this means that this imports a Q class from the Q module in Python standard library. The Q class provides a synchronized Q implementation. So, next is the defining of reverse first K Q. Uh, this is the main function that takes two arguments q. The q whose elements need to be reversed, and k is an integer representing the number of elements at the beginning of the queue that need to be reversed. If that is what I told, k should be an integer, and it should not be greater than the queue size. Next is if not q or k greater than or equal to 0 or k greater than the queue size. That's what I told. It should not be greater than q, which this means that it should not be greater than lesser than or equal to 0 or greater than the queue size. This line also checks for the invalid input if this is true. Next is if the queue is empty, it is not queue. If k is less than or equal to 0 is greater than the size of queue. That is what I told in that k, if the k is less, it returns as an invalid input. Next is for creating a temporary uh, creating a temporary stack to store the first k elements. And so we create an empty stack. This initializes an empty stack, that is stack is equal to a null set. And that is structure. Next is that for in a range. This creates a loop that iterates k times, where underscore is a conventional variable name that is used when the loop variable is not used in loop body. Inside the loop, it dequeues the first elements from the stack and pushes them onto the stack. That is what I told. We create a temporary stack. Uh, and while in stack, this loop continues until the stack is empty inside the loop. It forms the elements from the stack and enqueues back to the stack. That is what I told about pushing that back into the stack. I mean, enqueuing the elements back into the reversing order is what is next. Is like in while stack q dot puts we use the stack dot pop and next is the example usages. We created an example queue of range from the natural numbers of 1 to 8, and next we put the k value which is equal to 3, which I told before should not be greater than the queue size or should not be greater than I mean lesser than or equal to 0. Next we use the print statement to show the original queue, and another next print statement is for to show the new queue after reversing the first original queue. So that is all from my side. That is about reversing of elements in reversing of the first k elements in the queue. Thank you.